Hafa. Welcome to Data Points. Today we're going to be talking with Ed Untalan, and Ed is speaking to us as the chairman of the Guam Chamber of Commerce. And I asked Ed to come on because recently he put out messaging relative to the legislative budget, or the Guam budget that has been put out for review and for passage. And then we just got into it about the economy and the chamber's role and Guam systems and structures and how we got to where we are to a degree. But more so, we talked structurally about like where we need to focus to get things right here. And I think you'd be interested in some of the conclusions that we arrived at. You'll definitely be interested in what Ed has to say. I've been trying to get him on for a long time because he is such a wealth of information and he has all this historical context. So I think you'll enjoy it. I hope you enjoyed this and all our other podcasts on all our platforms. That's Spotify, YouTube, Apple Podcasts, and Facebook and Instagram. And enjoy this one. Thank you. Hafa, and welcome to Data Points. My name is Ryan. I'm here with Ed Untalan. And you may not remember this, Ed, but you were my actual first boss at Gita in 1995.
Get out, really?
Swear to God, I came home for the summer, and Tian was my aunt, and Lee Graham was marketing over there, and with Rita and Alta, right?
Wow.
And so like you were the leader of that organization. I started with Gita. I wrote a lot of the preliminary stuff for the QC program, like a lot of the marketing fluff and junk like that.
Yeah,
right?
you have to forgive me. At 65, man, my memory fades. What's your name again?
But I asked you to come on today because from that referential point in 1996, right? I remember, I think of you as someone who has tangentially the historical knowledge of how we got to where we are. You're the executive vice president for First Hawaiian Bank. You're not speaking in that role today because we would have to go through all kinds of clearance and compliance for that. So we stay away. But where you can speak and where you often do is as the chairman of the Guam Chamber of Commerce, right? So that's where everyone wants to talk about the economy. There was a budget presented and there was a meeting had, and tell me where we are, Ed. Tell me where we are and what the chamber stands for at this decision point with an election coming up.
Well, thanks, Ryan. I mean, it's interesting to know that you were at Gita back in 1996, and I had just actually returned in October of 95.
Okay.
And I was the deputy till 96 when Glenn Youngero decided to run for senator.
Okay.
And I was told, hey, why don't you run the administration? I'm like, what? Well, I only came back to be involved in public finance, but whatever is laid out for me, the good Lord will provide. And he said, here, you take care of this. All right, fine. Many things are going on. I mean, thank you also. I think this is a great opportunity. I know you've been asking me to come on for some time, and I've just been trying to juggle. And so now I've got a little bit of time to be able to sit and spend with you.
Thank you.
There are many things going on right now, as you mentioned, the economy, the budget, what's happening in tourism, the military buildup, and it all leads back to how we can create more jobs, how we can make lives better on this island, how we can make a better Guam. And I believe a lot of people have a lot of positive intent, good intentions, but they've really got to focus back on into what is the most critical issue. Like, for example, I had my gallbladder removed back in 2015. There are symptoms where you have that start to occur when you have gallbladder problems. So I thought this heartburn that I was getting was all the spicy stuff I was eating and the burping. I didn't realize it until it was too late. And so the only way I could have resolved or addressed it earlier was to go see a doctor and really find out what the real issues are. That's the conversation we really have to have, with the budget, with the economy, with everything. What is the real issue that we're facing?
Who's the doctor, Ed, and who dissects what the issues are?
Well, we are the doctor.
Okay.
The business community is telling everybody we are one of the doctors,
Sure.
right? And I think you've got a bunch of specialists out there from the economic development side, from the visitors bureau side, et cetera. Everyone has to be able to say, yeah, there is a situation that we need to address. But now I'm speaking as the chamber, and the chamber is maybe the main practitioner, if you may,
Okay.
saying the economy is suffering. We've been pounding this story for years. The economy is suffering, businesses aren't doing well. And so we're coming in there saying, look, you got to give us some sort of relief. We got to make some sort of improvement. But we need to focus in on the economy. That's the root of the problem.
And I like your analogy of the doctor because a good doctor asks you to self-diagnose to a
Mhm.
degree. They say, "What do you think is the problem?" And they ask you your thoughts about how you're feeling and what your historical condition has been and how
Sure.
that's changed. And then you, as the doctor per se, the overarching, communicate that to leadership, to the senators. So how does that interplay work in terms of support, in terms of tracking? How do you as an organization track that for membership?
Well, we hear from our members. And also people who or businesses that are non-members.
Mhm.
We see it, we feel it. So we have a board of directors who comprise of different sectors of the economy or the industries out there, from fuel to tourism to medicine to telecom, etc. And we hear it from them as well. So, and we have some in the retail, in the food industry, et cetera. And so we take all that and says there's something wrong. When we see businesses close, that's a sign that something is wrong,
Absolutely.
right? I mean, when you've got duty free as an example, 50 some years. I was sharing with Catherine, maybe not too long ago, if you walk into the chamber office, they're one of the business laureates.
Right.
Now they're no longer here. Well, what does that say? Did they, things have changed. So we take all that information and we say, we have a situation. So we speak for the business community. I think we have to expand that. We speak really for the island because if the businesses are doing well, the people, their jobs will be doing well. If their jobs are doing well, then the government will be benefiting from the taxes and the revenues generated. So when you've got people suffering and leaving, that's a symptom. When you got businesses closing down, that's a symptom. When you've got the government revenues keep growing and the businesses are saying, hey, you got to give us a break, that's an issue that we have to address.
Fair enough. And so identifying those issues and hearing from your constituency, from your membership, what do you what is the government not getting right? What are they getting wrong? And what do they have to fix absolutely right away?
Well, I don't, I mean, again, as I mentioned to you earlier, I believe everyone has positive intentions.
Mhm.
Everyone wants to do the right thing, and I'm hoping that's the case, right? Are they doing anything wrong? Maybe I don't want to say they're doing something wrong. I think what I would prefer to say is that their focus needs to be redirected.
Okay.
And that focus and that conversation has to be built around what is wrong with our economy.
Hmm.
And that's where, even with this budget, if I'm going to take some money and I'm going to use it for something, how is it going to impact the economy? Is it going to improve jobs? Is it going to improve the way we do business on the island? Is it going to improve the competitiveness of our island? The reality is that we're trying to attract investors. The reality is that we're trying to attract tourists. We are very fortunate. If you look at Saipan, we could be exactly where Saipan is, but even worse because
Right.
we have a larger government here. If it hadn't been for the military, we would be a disaster. So let's have that conversation. What can we do in this budget to rebuild our economy? That's where I think we have to have that focus. Are we spending the right resources to address the many issues there.
Well, are you willing to take a stand on the budget as written? Do you think that's indicative of where the priorities should be? Do you think the mandates are properly funded?
Well, I can't go into every division because, to go through that budget, I
Sure.
would have had to sit through all the hearings, et cetera. But I believe the budget is going in the right direction, and for a couple of reasons. Um, Number one, the budget is holding fast on the GRT,
Okay.
and that's where that op-ed
And that's
came
a
out.
that's a 4%.
That it's heading towards 4%. Right now, it's 4.5. It's heading to 4% by October. And that's when I released that op-ed because there's been a lot of discussion about GRT, big business, this and that. And we can talk about that later. But that is one key. And the reason being is because you have to help the businesses, give them relief. If the economy was so strong, a lot of businesses would have closed. A lot of stores, little mom and pop stores would have closed, et cetera. A lot of restaurants would still be having lunch and breakfast hours, but they're not. There's a reason why. They're not getting people to come to the doors so they can buy breakfast, so they can buy their little goods, et cetera. So that is in the general direction. That's where we want to go. It was codified back in October. They want to change it.
Right.
And we're saying, no, you have to give us help. If you're saying, again, the economy is hurting, well, the businesses are hurting.
Mhm.
And that's why the economy is not functioning well. Then we've got accountability. We had discussions with some political leaders about how can we just lay all this out? Why can we hold every government agency accountable? Baby steps, man. We're talking based on Senator Blah's 51 agencies. You can't change this overnight,
Okay.
right? And I think one of the most important things for me is, it's easy for everybody to say, hey, let's just cut the government. It's not that simple. So what the this budget that has been proposed versus the governor's budget, they're still increasing the annual budget by 30 million less than last year, 40 million less than the governor's budget. So we're slowing down that growth. And I think what the senators or political leaders need to do is identify where are we spending that money. And it's a matter of also transparency. How much money is being generated? How do we lapse funds? When the individual agencies come in, look, I want to fund GPD, but what am I funding? Right? I mean, the one big question was the capital expenditures. Are we paying for maintenance? Are we paying for automobile and maintenance and the buildings, et cetera? If you ask anybody, and you hear it constantly, our buildings are dilapidated.
Hmm.
So we've got a budget, and you're a businessman, right? If your revenues are tapping out, or you see some slowdown, et cetera, what's the first thing you got to do? Well, I got to start taking some of that money and redeploying it to the best use: technology, capital expenditure, but also maybe helping our staff stay alive a little longer, right?
I think there's a dangerous notion, and it's a circular argument that when taxes are given back, businesses take profits, because I don't think that's the environment that we're in now, right?
Yeah.
We're in a receding environment, and so the struggle is to keep people like on that have been employees with you through the tough times, in hopes of getting to the good times again. It's about increasing salaries to keep pace of cost of living so people can live. It's about reinvesting in the business, and those can't happen when in an environment where businesses are closing. So that's the give back, right? You have to keep people here. You have to keep the lights on, and that's the way you do it. You give us a little bit of margin back. But do you think that the GRT is the best apparatus, just as a tax system? Like, do you think progressively we should shift that design to some other thing, or do you think that that's effective and capturing all the revenue?
Well, I think we first have to make it very clear. The chambers never said, number one, that the reduction of the GRT is going to solve all the problems.
Mhm.
The GRT is taxed at the gross revenue level.
Yes.
And so if you don't have anybody coming in to spend money,
Mm.
it means nothing. But I also want to clarify something that the government isn't giving anything back.
Right.
The government is taking less. That's a big distinction,
Mhm.
right? The government's in the business of serving the people of Guam. And so they give us, we pay for fees. So the licenses fees, the automobile registration fees, all that is a form of tax.
Yes.
So you get all those revenues, and you have to ask, are they being utilized properly? Are we getting the best results? Are they being impactful to the lives of people? So when we talk about the tax, there's two things. Number one is that tax is not the answer to all.
Mhm.
It's not, because there's all these other fees. You still got to pay income tax as well.
Right.
You have withholding tax. You've got hotel occupancy tax. You got a whole slew of taxes,
There's a
right?
list. Yes.
Yeah, and so that's not going to solve the problem. I was at um, I went to a public hearing, and they were looking at possibly adjusting the minimum wage. And, I firmly believe, and I've been in this business for 39 years with Gita, et cetera. I mean, 7, 8 years with Gita. But I really firmly believe all the businesses are there to help improve people's lives,
Mhm.
because you hire people, you want to pay people, you want to keep that talent, you
Yes.
want to grow,
Yes.
right? So if they look at that, you cannot distinguish between a large business and a small business, because we all operate over the same thing: gross revenues, operating expenses, bottom line net income. It's the same math, same formula, just difference in scale.
Right.
Okay. So, the discussion has to go away from big business versus small. It doesn't matter. It always loops back to the first thing I mentioned, the economy. I was there at a public hearing, sharing with you. Small business guy had a coffee shop. And, they're saying, oh, but if we increase the minimum wage, it's going to make people's lives better. And the person said, if I don't sell coffee, I still have to pay this person. So the pressure comes on whether or not they can stay open.
Right.
And I looped it back to the conversation to the senators that were present. I said, the issue is how to drive more business for them. The issue is the economy. And that's where it revolves. If the economy is booming, we wouldn't be having this discussion.
I agree. And I guess where I'm trying to drill down to is what is the most efficient use of the funds now? Like if we're spending money, where do you think we need to be spending the money on? We're probably spending money there already. What's wrong with how we're spending it now?
Boy, that's a more than an hour discussion,
Fair enough.
right?
Yeah.
And I don't like to go in there like my business, in my business, my role is I'm an advisor
Okay.
to customers to try to identify solutions, right? If I had to go in there and look at how they're spending money, well, first question what are we doing to be most productive? What could we do better? What could we do with more with less? How can we redeploy those assets? And I think that's the hardest discussion, because when you've got a number of agencies that rely on, just like, hey, I got payroll, that's all I need to make, right? They don't understand the capex. They don't understand the increasing line items like utilities, et cetera. So if the government starts thinking of it like a business, then they'll start looking at it differently. I don't want to harp on payroll because that's always a big issue, right? But In a business, if my payroll, my salaries and benefits is the majority portion of my expenses, something's wrong. I need to be able to see if my resources there are being deployed properly and very impactful. I believe one of the things I had mentioned is that why don't we take some of the resources, the local resources of within the agencies, and deploy them to areas?
Mhm.
Why do we have to hire more people? I'm not against hiring, but there's got to be a result. They've got to be a some benefit that is being received. So you got, so the chamber's been saying, hey, you know, let's slow down the growth. Number one. Number two, let's redeploy our resources. CapEx,
Mhm.
maintenance, what a mess.
Yes.
I don't think we, no anybody can deny that. And I'm not pointing fingers at anyone, but all I'm saying is that let's refocus in. Number three, let's see what's, I keep talking about the economy, but what's the number one source of revenue that has kept us alive prior to the buildup?
Okay. Tourism.
Exactly. Exactly. We, when I was the chairman back in 22 and 23, I was pounding the drums. Hey, don't forget the guys out there. We've lost a lot of people in tourism, the staffing, because they had to go find jobs elsewhere. Since COVID, it has not been able to recover. The numbers are creeping up, but the dynamics have changed. You've entered into a fantastic industry, if you may, data analytics. I mean, that's the same thing the bank is going through. We're analyzing data till it's coming out of our ears, trying to understand it. But there's one objective. How can we take that data and improve people's lives? How can we take that data and improve the service that we provide? It's the same thing with you. That's where the government needs to look at. What can we do to become more efficient? And if we talk about tourism, there's a laundry list. There's a bunch of professionals out there that can tell you what needs to be done. But the mindset is let's accept the conversation, the dialogue that we do have a serious problem.
Well, are you willing to accept that the tourism isn't going to be the third leg anymore? It's not going to be the main driver?
It has to be. Military buildup is not going to be here, but I wouldn't say military buildup because what industry that benefits from the buildup is going to be the construction side.
Sure. But,
And we've seen cycles of that.
but
Right?
let me set the table a little bit just based on the conversations that I've been having, right?
Mm-hmm.
And like this is where you put me in check, right, or perspective. But so progressively, what we see with tourism is every regional economy is on some kind of decline,
Mm-hmm.
right? We're talking about Taiwan, we're talking about Japan, we're talking about Korea. Immigration policy, economic policy, monetary policy, currency is bringing these, and just the low birth rate is bringing, and low immigration is bringing these economies to a cliff effectively. And when Mr. Ho was on, he alluded to some of this as well, right?
Mm-hmm.
And the opportunity to deploy like routes in China. But where I keep coming back to is, in the 80s during the boom, the boom times from Japan, coming to Guam was a different value proposition. It was like, I want to drive the convertible. I want to see the American movie, experience the American products, right? There's a Western experience that wasn't open to many, but it was open and close. And there was nice golf courses. It's a different place. And other regions weren't as open as they are now, aren't as developed. But now you're in a place where these regions are scaling, they're developed, they have a better immigration base, they're on an upward trajectory, and they're not immigrating anymore. They're staying home because the job opportunities. So we got Malaysia coming up, you have Taiwan, right? You have these long haul carriers. But I guess where it comes down to is I love it here. I came back, I chose to be here. But if I didn't have a reason to come here, why
Yeah.
would I? Because I can go to for less money and more bang for my buck, I can go to all these other places, right?
Yep.
And so no matter how much you develop the cultural experience here, you're still competing against these currencies and these economic forces and these structural apparatus that aren't designed, right? Can we just like say, okay, yeah, people are going to still come and we're going to hit like 1.9 million? Or do we need to explore the idea that that's not going to happen?
We have to accept the reality that the market has changed completely for us,
Yes.
right? And we have to look at our product, our brand. What are we trying to promote? Everyone has sun, sand, and sea. I think we have to look at what we can get right, right? I mean, we didn't have to do much to get 1.9 visitors,
Yes, we
right?
just woke up.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
A nice beach, but then,
Yeah.
yeah, go
Yeah.
ahead. Yeah.
So, the reality is let's fix what we can.
Okay.
So, you want to invite somebody to your house, you got to make sure your house is ready to welcome them in.
That sounds like a chamber.
Yeah, right?
That's a famous line of the
Exactly.
debates. Yeah.
It's the same thing here.
Yeah.
Are we able to welcome them? So it's just not one solution is going to fix all. We've got a problem. You've got many experts in the industry, right? So you've got a product problem, and you've got a marketing image problem, and then you've got a resource problem, because even if let's say for some reason you get 800,000 visitors come by the next year, more, our hotels aren't ready. We
Right.
don't have the capacity. We don't have the resources to be able to do it. So if everyone looks at it, and I'm going back to the economy, what's driving the economy? What's going to help build it? If the economy is weak, let's address the economy is weak. It's suffering. Okay. Let's address the fact that tourism is in dire straits. I was talking to a consortium that's trying to get together, and they're like, man, we're dying. Okay, well, what are you planning to do? Right? I mean, we got to fix things. So you've got a pool, and going back to your question, you got a pool of money. How can we take that money and put it to best use? How much money is going to go fix the roads? How much money is going to clean our beaches? How much money is going to keep our beaches out of being polluted every time it rains?
Right, Ed, but I guess where I come, and this is again my arc, right?
Mhm.
I'm tired of asking the questions, right?
Right.
I'm tired of asking these guys the question. I want to give them ideas and have them execute the ideas.
Sure.
So then that's what I see being successful here with the businesses that are proliferating, and that's progressing up the verticals, right? But then also what a trend you're seeing is like, Mr. Ho is a pertinent example. He acquired a lot of housing, but he acquired the housing with the foresight, knowing he's going to have a lot of workers here and he's going to have a lot of employees. And a lot of those LIHTC structures were great with his employee base. And so why can't we, as the chamber, come up with, hey, we want these tax initiatives for employers over 500 people who develop housing, right? Like look at PHR. They have their own housing for their own people right in Tumon, right? They're developing their own communities that can sustain their workforce, that creates happy people. There are broken systems here. And I talk about tourism. We talk about tourism, but the people inside the tourism industry are suffering. They don't have affordable housing. They're living, like they're commuting. People are living like three families to a house. We have all these social problems coming from that. But then the Catholic Church, right? That was for a time the entity that was Catholic Social Services, picking up these things, holding up the community. But then that's gone now too, and all these organizations are suffering too, and we're not well. So how can we have a product and market the island if we're not well? And I think systemically, we need to fix things for the people, the employees, right? And we're talking about tax breaks, yes, because businesses are keeping people here. They're keeping people employed, right? And I have to pay the power bills every day. Some costs of doing business is going up. And if I'm not smart enough to scale, to leverage technology, and where are those resources to help me learn how for these boomer businesses who have been holding, but there's no transitional employees. There's no people coming in to buy the businesses. There's no young people to take over, to bring the new ideas because they left.
Right.
because we didn't keep, and Dean Jones has been at Chamber talking about where are the young people, where is that support, and where is that voice in Chamber for that support? Because that I think is what's missing, because when you say, and this is a messaging problem, because I don't believe that businesses don't care about this, because I'm a member of the Chamber. I am a small business. I'm under 50 employees. I care. I care about my people. We try and pay them competitively, and it hurts when I lose them, right? Because they become part of the group that we grow with, right? And every time I lose someone, I got to retrain someone. It slows me down, and I want to run.
Yeah.
Everybody wants to run here. We want to do speed of things at the real speed of business. And we see people around the world in third world countries doing it, even here, but yet we can't get it right. And I'm just tired of talking to the government and asking these guys, because we know, you're the doctor, right? And I think we need to put our ideas forward. And that's what I'm trying to do here, put those ideas forward.
Well, you mentioned a lot of stuff. You mentioned tourism. You mentioned accountability. You mentioned housing. You mentioned workforce development. You mentioned competitiveness, making Guam competitive for working companies and for people wanting to relocate here and being a product that people want to come and visit, right? Where's it going to start? Well, early voting has already started, right? I mean, that's the reality. I took a poll of my team, and I was very happy with the poll because I almost got an 80% response rate, right? But there are some who don't really follow what's going on, but they all listed all the issues, cost of doing business on Guam, et cetera. So we, and the chamber, and we've said this many times, is that we cannot do this alone, right? And we're trying to call in the other chambers, we're trying to call in all the other associations, because the reality is who we elect next is going to be able to drive this. If and you shared that one. What was it? That application that you showed?
The Vote Smart Hub.
Yeah.
Get
So,
Vote Smart Guam. Yeah.
First we came out, okay, let's talk about the budget because it's the right process. Now, did it contain everything we wanted? No. In fact, some of the board members, we were having discussions about it, and some were like expressing, why can't we do this? Why can't we do that? Because you got to start, right? Me foremost, GRT 4%, transparency, accountability, and let's grow this government slower.
Okay.
Right? That's the first start. Secondly, then you have to then, whoever wants to be the chief executive of this island and who's going to be voted in is going to want to take everything that you have, and I hope the cabinet that he brings in are the people who want to make the changes. Going back to the Gita days, was it Carl, former Governor Gutierrez, what is it, Vision 2002?
Yes. Yeah.
Right? He had a strategic plan.
He did.
And he empowered, it was amazing, right? I think he was a Democrat, but I really think Carl was a Republican in Democrats' clothing.
All Democrats, all prior Democrats are Republicans.
But what he did was he brought in the private sector, and he says he's formed all these committees, and he says, I'm empowering you guys. And he told all the government agencies, you drive behind what they develop. And they put together a booklet, a plan that says, we got to do this, do that, do this, do that. I don't see anything like that. I'm hoping the new governor can do it because you mentioned a lot. Now, it's going to come to the voters. You got to go out and vote. I can go on there and register everybody I want, but if they don't vote, et cetera, it's voter information. And this is an appeal, really, whoever's listening to this in the business community. You need to have that dialogue with your employees. Are they happy where they're at? Because if we're going to make a change, it has to start from the top. And then when they start from the top, like Carl did, he had a situation, the economy was getting weak. I think we had some typhoons.
We had BRAC.
Yeah.
And we had the closure.
Exactly. Right. They said, okay, how can we address this? What can we do? That's what needs to be done. At this point in time, it's difficult when you've got the construction industry just churning money based upon the military buildup, right? Now, will this buildup last 10 years? I don't know. I mean, shoot, geopolitical forces could change that overnight.
They're leaving people in Okinawa now, right?
Exactly. So that's why I'm saying, do we wait 10 years? Absolutely not. I think we need to start now because there are many things that need to be done. So whoever comes in, they've got to start laying out a plan. What's wrong with tourism? Well, let's get this, that. There's going to be such a big checklist that they're going to need to prioritize.
Sure.
And that's when the budgeting comes in. How am I going to take some of the money? I was told that personnel takes 70%. People have said, no, it's 90%.
90, yeah.
I don't know what it is. I use technology, AI, and say, hey, what's the most efficiently run governments, et cetera? They're like 40%, 30%. Okay, whatever it is. If we know that's a problem, then we work through attrition, through retirements, through a better education, through AI. You know that I'm pushing AI at my workplace. I'm learning it. I've learned a lot in the last month and a half how to use it, not to take over jobs, but how to improve jobs. That's what needs to be done. So they need to go in there. If you're in charge of public works, public safety, whatnot, what's the problem? What are the causes? What do we need to do? Allocate money to be able to develop it, not just to hire people, because I think we have enough people in the government. We just reposition people and we start to work. I use as example, and I know it's a very delicate subject, but if our budget's 1.4 million, right, and we're
Say
the
billion, right? Not
yeah
million.
about 1.4 billion.
Billion, yeah,
I'm
yeah,
so sorry. $1.4 billion. Sorry about that. But 1.4 billion. Imagine if we save 10%.
Yeah.
140 million.
Yeah, it's a
What
lot of
can we
money.
do with 140 million? A lot.
Sure.
A whole lot. And so if we can work towards that, but the issue is when you've got money coming in, they say, oh, we got to do this, we got to do that, we got to do this, but are we using it effectively? Is it really impactful for people's lives? It's going to come around again. The ultimate question that the senators need to ask and the new governor comes in is that the budget, how is it driving to build a better economy? Because all what you're saying, better jobs, lower operating expenses, lower power bills, is driven by the economy,
Right.
right? And so that's the ultimate question. Is it helping our economy? Is it helping improve our product? That's the fundamental question a lot of them ask, right?
Yeah, and I agree that that is the fundamental question, but I guess like what I'm not seeing is like unification of direction on the answer.
Absolutely. I couldn't agree with you more. And it drives me crazy,
Yeah.
right? Because I like you, I came back here. I love Guam. I think Guam could be a fantastic place. I, s- I get sad when I hear people want to leave for a better place. I don't know what a better place. Okay, we get a typhoon, but we'll weather it, right? It's part of our life, part of our DNA. But Guam could be an excellent place, and we've got a tremendous opportunity to be able to create this economy, this island where people at least want to visit. Hey, shit, you go there, it's clean beaches.
Mhm.
Oh my gosh, the roads are fantastic, beautiful sights. Where, unfortunately, our people are also a cause of the problems,
Fair.
right? I heard this morning, we dump crap everywhere. It's true. Then let's enforce things.
Mhm.
Let's, if there's a problem, let's address it. Why are people dumping stuff there? Well, they don't care. Well, shoot, if I catch somebody and I have them pay a $5,000 fine versus $100 fine,
Right.
we start thinking about it, right? So we have to this is not just a government of Guam issue. The private sector already knows. But the people of the Guam also have to rally behind this through the electoral votes, through the electorate. And then the government also has to remember they are serving the people.
Yeah, and I think what's missing too is the accountability and the transparency,
Yeah.
and a large function of that is, yeah. And if you want to talk about government waste, I absolutely don't think government waste is with people. I think it's with systems.
Yeah.
I think government systems, just from the lack of workflows for every process, transparent workflows that are available to all, from the lack of context as far as why we do the things that we do and the process that we follow. And what concerns me is that's leaving.
Mm-hmm.
And so, and then what happens is I see now, you say AI, and all these people touting the sufficiency through AI and these systems, but if there's no unification of systems, if there's no overarching, the 30,000 foot view of everything, the macro view versus the micro and the weeds, you're going to have significant problems moving forward. And no one's ever going to be able to see the clear picture. And my argument is, we're all flying blind right now.
Mm-hmm.
And so what do you use? What do you use for, or what do you think would be helpful for your membership to fly less blind and have more insight into what's going on? Because, I don't know what's going on at permitting. I don't know, I don't know, right? The DPW is doing a great job with a system, but then we're in procurement hell, right? 2 years out from a system that went out for bid. Everything just gets mired down in procurement. So what do you do about that?
Well, you go to the source. What's the problem? What's the cause of the problem? And you address it right away. Is it a system problem? Is it a processing problem? Is it a personnel problem?
Mm-hmm.
What is, you have to jump right to the root of the cause. Dr. Mummert, he's got to go in there and says, well, here's the problem. Now, going back to Vision 2002,
Mm-hmm.
right? He had a plan, and everybody came and says, well, here's the problem. This is what we recommend to resolve the problem. Years ago, almost 10 years ago, FHB, we had 3 or 4 different operating systems. So if I needed something, I had to look at here. I got a CRM, I had to look at here. If I needed this, I had to look at there. We came in there and we said, we got a problem because technology has made advances and we hadn't kept up with it. It was a painful process, but they made a decision to invest millions of dollars in improving our system. Now I've got one thing, I can look up everything.
Right.
That's what the government needs to walk into.
I agree.
Why don't we have everything backed up in the cloud? We have so much paper.
And why are our servers at sea level?
Exactly. Exactly, right? So, I believe there's a lot of good people, and I want to give a shout out to somebody at Reverend Tax. 2 people. I don't know their names, but I walked in there. I had to transfer a vehicle, and I normally give it to my son, and he'll take care of it. So he's like, now I have to do it. It's like, oh shoot, where do I begin? So I walk into Reverend Tax, right, thinking that's where it is. I go up to some person and I said, where do I go to transfer a vehicle? He goes, oh, you got to go to the DPW, DMV. I said, okay, but I walked out and that lady had another customer come running out after me. She said, oh, this lady's calling you back. Okay, great. I walk up to her. She's like, I think we're doing it. Why don't you go ahead and down there and check? Okay. I walked down the street where the driver's license and all that stuff. And I had to get in line. Not a problem. And when I went up there, you could see, shoot, if I had to deal with that line 8 hours a day, yeah, I'd be very, I'd be stressed. But hey, I tell you, it's a matter how you greet people, etc.
Yeah.
And that one individual, first that lady called me back. This other individual was very helpful. Okay, did you do this, do that? I said, yes, I did. I explained a little bit. She goes, okay, this, that. She found a solution because my bill of sale didn't have a value. She goes, your bill of sale needs to have it. And I'm like, oh, shoot, I got to go back to the owner. She goes, no, just write it in. That's the problem. That's the issue. If we had that type of customer service throughout, and I'm not saying it isn't because I think there's a lot of people, then that's a really beginning of change. if everybody can go in there, what's the solution? I, as an advisor to many businesses and individuals, I'm not here to tell you what you want to hear. There are things I'll probably, tell you that you may not agree with, but my job is to be able to identify solutions.
Yes.
If we got a government that is having problems, then it's incumbent and it's important that all the leaders find the solution. But they first have to recognize that there is a problem. When you have a government flowing in money, there's no problem, right? And that's been the challenge. We got all these millions of dollars flowing in the construction side. That's fantastic. Let's take that money and put it to good use. What are the problems they're facing and what are the solutions? Hiring bodies is not the issue. Like like I told you, I'm pushing AI. AI can analyze financial statements. AI can do a lot of write-ups, but AI is not perfect,
No.
right? So you can never remove the human aspect of it, but it helps improve our job. So people are like, oh, is AI going to take over the tellers and this? No. What I'm going to do is improve the workflow, improve processes, and redeploy people to provide better service.
Right. It'll make your tellers more efficient and
Exactly.
have more time to spend with the customers in that way because
Exactly.
they won't have to do the
Yeah,
menial tasks.
exactly.
Right.
I mean, if we can deploy, half of that type of mindset, I'm sure there's a lot of people, especially the younger people coming into the government, and I'm hoping when they leave like University of Guam or whatever college they come back from, they have a different mentality, right? So maybe we can improve something. What could we have done better? What can we do better?
So, okay. What is one thing that you think would be one change that we could make today that you think would help a lot of small businesses?
Help today
Mhm.
to help a lot of small business. It's going to come right back. In order for that small business to survive, I got to get the economy building so I can bring people to their doors and they can start buying coffee and they can start buying products and services.
Mhm.
Reducing taxes only uh, helps provide relief. But if I'm able to, what do you call it, reduce procurement time,
Mhm.
it helps with the application process. Time is money. Okay, if I can reduce that. So is there a problem with procurement? Is there a problem with the application process? If the answer is yes, what can we do to improve it? What can we do now to generate more business? And this is why it's not an overnight fix.
Mhm.
You've got a pool of money coming in. You've got a pool of money in the financial institutions. I won't say. I'm trying to be politically correct, okay? But how can we take that and better it? So if tourism is the backbone or one of the backbones, how can we improve it? Well, let's start by improving our beaches. Let's start improving by the roads. Let's start forcing building codes. Because I drive down Kmart, man, I look to my right, I'm like, good grief, this is an environmental hazard.
Yeah, I get it.
Why haven't we done anything? Why haven't we enforced anything? So recognize that first there's a problem. It's going to take time, Ryan. It's not going to happen overnight. There's nothing that any senator is going to be able to flip that switch. But the most important thing is acknowledging reality.
Yeah, and then again, also, how do you nail fit with how do you start the long journey? Right, it's the
Yeah,
first step. You do it one at a time, right?
yeah,
So you have to start somewhere.
yeah,
So education, workforce development, creating relief, and creating systems for businesses to come up. Yes, but also mindset, right? Not accepting the why if it
yeah,
doesn't make sense to you, continuing to ask questions and push for accountability and transparency.
yeah,
And just if it doesn't make sense to you, it doesn't make sense.
yeah,
And just keep asking questions until it makes sense. And,
exactly.
and I think that's the level of transparency we need from the leaders. And I think, quite frankly, we need the leaders to understand, because I've looked at some of the economic analysis that goes into these bills. Who does that, Ed? right? How much do they pay that guy? I'm just saying, I'm asking, right? But
Yeah.
no, you have a regional report for one of the institutions that you work for, right? It used to be famous, right? It
Yeah,
used to come
yeah.
out. Like, where is that? Right? Who looks at that here? Who's doing that here? Right?
Yeah.
And is that the level of analysis getting poured over? You know, do we really understand if we take this mandate from here and put it here, what the downstream economic effect is going to be, other than votes?
Yeah.
And maybe that's the apparatus that we need to internalize on the chamber to study and do some real analysis on some of this policy to say, hey, there's some real, we need to maintain this data set. We need to maintain this standard for our membership. So our membership knows, because the government isn't.
Yeah.
And I think right now where we're at is we can't rely on the government for anything until we see that there's going to be the leadership that you say. So we, as these organizations, need to bond together and come out, show the voice, but we need to also prefer the plan.
Yeah.
Right.
Yep.
I think we need to set that these are the things as the stakeholders in the community that we can get behind, and we do it. That is the vision. That is and I think, I think the chamber can be the front of that leadership and has been, and is very effective at getting legislation to the table.
Yep.
And getting the voices of the membership heard.
A couple of things. We're putting together a 5-year blueprint,
Yes.
right? And I would like to invite you to be involved in it.
Thank you.
Because the data is very critical. When we were having that discussion regarding the budget, some of us were having, we were asking basic questions like, well, how much revenues do we generate? How much in payables do we owe? Is there a financial information? And you see the broken structure again. And so, that's why I had to kind of quell some of the pushback from the board members, because they're like, hey man, we need to get this, get that. It's a first step.
Yes.
Right. So that's one thing. The other thing is Catherine is going to launch kind of like a voter initiative. I think maybe it's going to be launched today or tomorrow, where they're going to direct it towards the regular voter, asking these questions. And if you're satisfied, we're going to put a question for the governor and the legislature. And if the voter says, yes, they've answered that.
Right.
The whole point is you got to get people more involved in this thing, right? To get it, to get that interest sparked. When I did a poll with the bank, there were some people who just didn't care.
Nobody
Right.
thinks it's going to make a difference for them unless you're going to get a
that's
job,
true.
like an
And that's true.
LTA or something like
Yeah.
that, right?
Yeah.
No, you support the party, you get the job, you get the
Yeah.
promise, or relative, or
Yeah.
that's where these things move. But in the private sector, I don't believe any of this is going to help. I'm just like this, so I'm not, and
Yeah.
I'm not taking leave from work to do this. I'd rather spend time with my kids than vote, because the same thing's going to happen to me because I don't have a voice.
And that's the mentality that a
Yes.
good percentage, right?
Yes.
A good percentage.
That's why your
has.
turnout's so low, and that's why the elderly, because the older people know that their vote matters even more so now, and I have more of a voice because I just show up and nobody else does. I get to make it exactly what I want. But these systems are being set up for the people that it's not serving.
Yeah.
The people who it needs to serve aren't showing up to the polls.
Yeah. Yeah. And how do we get that information out? How do we to really ignite that drive to want to have a different Guam? That's been a challenge that Chambers had for many years, right? I mean, and we've been making an appeal to all our chamber members. You need to have that dialogue. You got to start having that dialogue. Are you happy with it? So when we did the poll, the number one issue that came out, because I had them rank these things, is housing. Okay, and then the cost of living in Guam. Those were the top two categories. I'm like, okay, what do you guys want to do about it? Right. I mean, and that's the question we have to pose with everyone. Oh, and and there's a good segment of the population that I don't want to get involved. Right? They don't want to stir the kettle.
Yeah.
Well,
everyone's worried. It's a small place.
Yeah, exactly.
You don't want to offend anybody.
Yeah, exactly. But it just comes back. And that's why with this podcast, with every tool that we're trying to use, with social media, we're trying to push out the same, a message. Do you want a better Guam? If you want a better Guam, we got to improve our economy. Um, I want to share with you an example. You know, one of my mentors, the late Senator Paul Berdado, he was the chairman of the Guam Economic Development Authority when I was there. He was there for about 2 years before he passed away. And we had a company come in and they wanted to borrow $1.5 million. They were an aviation mechanic school,
Mhm.
right? It was up there. And me, I just came from a bank. I had my banker hat and I said, no way, we're not going to do this. This is absolutely crazy. They're not going to be able to pay us. They're not going to do this. We're going to. So it was at a board meeting that, the company appealed and I stood my ground. After the meeting, he came up to me in my office and he goes, can I speak with you? I said, absolutely. He asked me, do you have $250,000 that we can give? And I'm like, no way, Mr. Chair. Why do I 1.5 million, 250? We're still going to lose. Do we have 250,000? And I'm like, yes, but no, Ed. He said, take off your banker hat and put on your economic development hat. And he goes, it's about jobs. And it came back to jobs. He goes, even if we lose 250,000, we can get 10 people through this program that can contribute to the tax base. This company is going to pay at least GRT and income tax, whatever they can, but they're going to pay withholding tax. It's about jobs. And that's when the light bulb kicked in. I said, you're right, I have to look at it differently.
Mhm.
It's about jobs. It's the same thing with the senators now. It's about jobs. If the job, if the, I mean, you look at the employment rate and stuff like that. I don't buy it, right? When you got 50 some thousand people who are not even included in that calculation. It's about jobs. Better jobs means a better economy means more revenues, means better jobs, means more revenues for the government, means better living on this island. It's about jobs. Not to belabor this issue. The industrial park. Gita was chided for many years and still is because those rents are dirt cheap.
Mhm.
I mean, we're talking 99-year lease, what, $1,000 a year.
Yeah.
But how many jobs did that create? How many businesses did that establish? How many millions of dollars went into the tax base? So, there's many. I mean, if we talk about Gita, et cetera, good people. But through the years, the government has systematically taken away certain things, like like property. Gita has no inventory now. It's difficult for Gita to develop an industrial park because it's owned by two separate land agencies.
Right.
And the mentality behind those land agencies is like, we want fair market rent. If we went into that mentality in the late 60s, early 70s, fair market rent, the industrial park would still be
Right.
dirt.
Yeah.
They got to go out there. They got to give economic leases, right? They got to give then maybe some type of loans. They got to give QCs. But that's a whole different concept. It's about jobs.
You just answered the question, right? We spent this is the conversation, and they're gonna make a meme out of this. You're gonna be like rapping. It's about jobs. I promise. That's gonna be the real. I'm calling it now.
Exactly.
But that's what we should be pounding the table, right? It's about jobs. And then you talk about, it's not about government jobs necessarily, right? Because that crowds out. Create real jobs that are for real people that are going to live here and grow and create other industries from that experience and build and raise families and proliferate, perpetuate, all those things. And I think you just answered the questions, Ed, in terms of the priority for the legislators and for the chamber and for the leadership. It's about jobs, right? And then with jobs come safety, security, and all these other things.
It'll all
right?
flow through.
But I will say, with jobs, we have to create like these structures for healthcare. We have to create
Yeah.
structure for education. So there has to be like, yeah, we can't have carpetbaggers here, right? Meaning come in and get out, at the end of 10 years or the end of your run, I made my money and I leave. We want people to invest. And if there's,
Yep.
if it's dirty, if your house isn't like in good order, no one's going to want to come and visit you.
Yeah.
Right. And you're not going to want to host the party. So,
And that's why when we were having this conversation about the budget, I had to pull everybody back because it's a first step.
mhm.
You got the mentality, you got we have to redirect the focus as to really what's the root of the problems, right?
But you answered a lot of the question right there. We talked about the land being held up in
Mhm.
Chamorro land trust, ancestral lands. There's unsurveyed, all these things, right? We don't have the infrastructural apparatus to do it, but we have technology. So
Yep.
we can attack it. That's the kind of thing we can survey, we can register, we can attack those things digitally with technology and come to real solutions because you're right. There's a lot of jobs and housing and all those good things and development locked up in that land
Yep.
that's right there and it's in the government's trust, but they're not doing anything with it. They're like, in the story of the three guys with the talents, right? They're the ones who dug the hole and buried it and
Yeah.
sitting on it, right?
Exactly.
And that's the problem. We've been sitting on, and it's depreciating. It's not appreciating. And we need more thinking as far as that.
When I was with Carl, we started studying it, and I think maybe around 2022 we looked at it again. We looked at all the successful domiciles with tax incentives, and we looked at Singapore, we looked at Thailand, I even because we went out there to look at Ireland too, right? And I want to talk about Ireland because that I thought was really interesting in how they looked at it. They had the IDB, the Ireland Development Bank, which is similar to what GITA is, right? Development Authority. And the story I was told when Carl was there, the IDB said, we were given a mandate, but they recognize the problem. They needed to build an industry, right? How can you attract people to come to Ireland? They went in there and the legislature said, we're going to give you a number of things. Your job in 5 years will be jobs and industry, etc. What did they give him? They gave him land, they gave him money, and they gave him the authority to look at the leases. And the money was also to help to provide interim financing, etc. So if you want to invite someone over here, okay, you got to make it attractive. Number one, if I have to lease land for 5, 10 years, it ain't going to work if I'm going to invest millions of dollars.
Yeah.
Number one. They asked me what I thought. I said, well, shoot, give them 50, 60, 70 years. I don't care. The point is that they're creating jobs. Going back to Senator Pobedal, it's about jobs, right? If they're willing to make that investment, it's about jobs. They're not going to lose anything. You can get the land back. Number two, the tax incentives. The QC is a great program. It needs to be, in my opinion, modified a little bit because there's too many handcuffs in it. Back in around 1999, 98, we developed a Guam-based trust. Our intention was to bring it foreign money and establish trusts on Guam. What happened was there was a tax loophole that some Las Vegas company found that all of a sudden all these hundreds of small business trusts were being developed in the United States, from the United States, moving to Guam. Treasury got a wind of it, says, hey, you're taking my taxes from me.
It's like the Panama Papers,
Yeah,
right? Is that where
exactly. So, as a result, they labeled Guam as, what do you call it, a tax haven. But what I'm saying is that the process, they just had to submit the application. The staff looked at it, reviewed it, went to the administrator, he signed off, went to the governor. If we can take away some of the bureaucracy, the flow, the
Yes.
workflow,
Sure.
right, to be able to improve the QC, how you go to an investor out there and say, hey, I want you to come to Guam. You could get this, get that, get this, get that. Oh, great. Well, when you come to Guam, oh, you have to apply. Then you go to public scrutiny. Then all that. If you look at all the different domiciles like Thailand, Singapore, even the Philippines, they give you a box. You check this box, you
You're in.
get it, right?
Yeah.
I mean, but the Gita can only do what they can do as best as they can, right? But going back is that whoever is in leadership now has to recognize there's a problem. Despite all the money coming in, there's a structural problem in workflows and staffing, right sizing, but also there's a industry problem in one of our biggest industries. Tourism is about to die.
Right. Yeah. And so with that said, there's a lot of issues that are going to be tantamount, in the upcoming election, and it's really important to show up.
Yeah, absolutely, man. Absolutely. Like, and that's what we're trying to do is we're trying to reach them. But my only channel is through the membership.
And
my only channel is through social media, right? And my only channel is op-eds and radio appearances, etc. But you only have certain parts of that voter base listening to, reading social media, listening to the radio, etc. So really, if the business community as a whole, and I'm talking even the hotels, I sat down with this group and I'm like, where were you guys when I was pounding the pavement in 2022 when we develop a action pack, right? Everybody's afraid. Okay, well, now you're being afraid. Look at where you're at right now. You either step up and do something. So there's this thing called an accountability ladder.
Okay.
And in the middle of the ladder is this thing where you acknowledge reality. It's powerful, powerless. Where are you in the accountability ladder? The first rung right in the middle of the ladder is acknowledge reality. Or the one below it, which is powerless, is blame others, wait and hope, or you just don't know what's going on.
Right.
And then if you acknowledge reality, you find the solutions and you get on with it. That's what we need to do.
There you go.
Acknowledge reality, find the solutions, and then get on with it. That's what we need to do.
And then one other thing I would suggest as chair of the chamber is Guam Contractors Association has this really good thing where it's like meet the member. So they'll go around the room and they'll randomly pass the mic to someone they haven't seen before, and like that person introduces themselves, right? And I think like Ben Schiff, I had Ben. He does the Altarverse, and he's I don't know if you know him.
It sounds familiar. But
he's a small business person. He's been in business 9 years. He's young. He's like in his 30s, right? Those are the guys you want. Right?
Yeah.
But when he walks in chamber, he doesn't it's intimidating. You see like Ed Untalan, you see all these. No, I'm serious. Like there's Docomo, there's GTA, there's IT&E, there's Captains of Industry. They're large organizations, right?
Yeah.
And it's intimidating to be in that
I'm going to write it
space.
down, okay?
I get the note from Ed Untalan.
From Ryan Mummer, meet the member.
But yeah, no, that's really neat. I even recorded it because I wanted to bring it back as a suggestion, right? But it's really nice because you feel known. This one guy's like, oh, I like guns and I like, I like doing so, but it's,
Yeah.
But what I'm saying, the experience I'm trying to relate is a lot of people from small businesses show up to chamber and they're one person in a room of like hundreds.
Sure.
And these are people that, the groups at chamber roll deep. Right, the table is Bank of the First Hawaiian. The table is a Bank of Hawaii. The table is Bank of Guam. Right, So and then
I'm glad you mentioned First Hawaiian first. Okay, it was almost a slip. Okay,
but I squeezed. But then, as a small business person, as a realtor, I was a realtor. Number one, it's hard for me to pay the dues.
Yeah.
right? And then, but I don't understand that. But then also it's intimidating to be in the room, right? So if you don't have someone
That's a
that
good
you know,
point.
so you need a mentor, someone, and I know you guys do the mentorship program.
We tried.
But like there's a house mother, like, you know, like in church, right?
Yeah.
If you don't show up at church or you come into church, someone welcomes you. There
Yeah.
needs to be that person who comes in and brings and introduces them around, makes them feel welcome, puts them at a table, right?
You know, past chair Ernie Galito wanted to do something like that.
Mhm.
It's a matter of resources as well, right? Where we our staffing, we lost
Sure.
like
No,
three or
I
four
get it.
people.
Yeah. You had a big staff and now you have a small staff.
Well, we didn't have much of a big staff. We
We
went
had
from like
5, right?
6 to 3,
Yeah.
and now we're at 4,
Sure.
right? But no, I like that idea. I'm going to. I took note of it, and I think we should do something. I wrote something else behind that, and maybe, you know, the general membership is one thing. The issue, like you mentioned, and I think is what you're is an something we've been looking at, the dues, the fees,
Mhm.
right? We've been looking hard at it. And for many years, the chamber has not increased its fees. But we've always been asking ourselves, what value are we bringing? What value are you getting aside from the insurance maybe that we have are able to do that? We're hoping that the voice that we have, that us trying to bring out and elevate the issues that we've been doing as much as we can helps. Now, it's going back to identifying the solution. So we're meeting with Catherine and now Phil. The membership said, look, I mean, the board said, we cannot increase fees.
Mhm.
We cannot. We recognize and acknowledge the reality. We're hurting out there.
Yeah.
Okay. It's not right. So we held back. Number two, we said, let's look at our financial resources. How long can we live without making an adjustment? And so we looked at our numbers and said, you know what? We realized that this year we're going to lose money.
Yeah.
Fine. We understand that. We accept it because there's a reason why. We couldn't put the pressure on our membership, and also we needed to bring in more talent. So we budgeted that, acknowledging and recognizing the situation. Then number three, we said, what more can we do to generate different forms of revenues, right? Like you got a bar that wants to just serve cocktails. Well, shoot, you can only do so much with cocktails. Well, okay, how about poo-poos, right? Let's do that. Maybe just a hamburger, or maybe we should expand the menu a little bit, or so they're thinking of ways to generate additional revenues, and that's where we're at now. What can we do to generate additional revenues, et cetera? Why don't we put a banner in our website?
Mhm.
Somebody pay for that.
Yeah.
We've got a lot of, I mean, there's a lot of ideas Catherine has.
Sure.
Unfortunately, she was a one-man show, right? Or one-woman show.
And that you have to have the team to
Yeah.
deploy, right? And so
Yeah.
you can have all the ideas in the world, but you got to execute them at some point. So
Yeah.
I get it, right?
Yeah.
And yeah, I think that's it, right? You need to get dues down, but then also there could be opportunities for someone to sponsor an affiliate, right? So one of the big members as an initiative, let's sponsor a small business that's coming up in a vertical that you support or something, right? Do that for a year or
Let
something.
me put
right?
that down. I like getting ideas. Okay. I
Well,
mean,
just to
great.
have the voice, because I think what's missing is that small business voice. What's the experience now? Because the notion is that it's only big business that speaks to chamber. They have the voice,
Yeah.
right? They have the
The,
cachet.
the reality is the majority of the membership small business, but the majority of the revenues are from the big businesses.
Right. But the majority of the voice and the votes come from the big businesses too when you set policy because of the way it's skewed.
Yeah.
So
But it's the leadership that's also important, right?
yes.
And the leadership of the chamber has been very consistent in trying to keep focused on what we can do to build, to get this economy going.
And I'll say this to you out there: if you're going to be in the chamber, don't just join a committee. Participate. You have to participate, and that's networking.
Yeah,
That is important.
Thank you, because the reality is that we have subcommittees,
Yes.
and it's the same people in it.
Over and over and over.
and
So the same,
over
but
again.
if you have participation,
Yeah.
right? Number one, you have a voice. Number two, that's networking, man.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
getting people in industry to know you and respect you because of the work you do.
Yeah.
Those are relationships.
No, it's true, and we push this. So, you know, to be a part of the board, you got to want to serve.
Yes.
But then when they sit down and they realize, they're like, oh man, there's a lot of stuff going on, right? They choose between, oh, I can't do this, I can't do that, etc. I juggle, because I love this island. I love helping people. And it's the desire to want to help people that drives me to figure out some time to keep my work that pays me, but also then help the chamber. And I'm using resources to help me manage. For example, right? AI, every morning I go into Copilot. I said, scan my emails, scan my correspondences, scan my calendar. Tell me the top 5 things I need to do today,
Nice.
right? And it spits it out,
Mhm.
right? And so, all right, and I start to click, give me the next 5, give me the next 5. So we try to use resources to be able to be more efficient and
Yes.
effective, right? But you're right. I thank you for bringing that out, because if you are listening, join the chamber, want to be involved. I tell you, the Guam Young Professionals, the vice chairman Marcus Fung, he's done a fantastic
He
job over
has.
the last
Yes.
year. I'm so grateful that he's a part of it. Young, energetic, he's got a great mind. He's very intelligent, and he's revived it.
Mhm.
And now we're trying to take that initiative to get, because that's the missing votes,
Yes.
is the 20 to 40 years old. Those guys don't come out to vote. But they're realizing also now, they're like, oh man, there's a certain number that they just don't care.
But I think it also takes a while for you to start thinking yourself as if,
Yeah.
right? To acting as if you are a person of substance, but you always have been.
Yeah.
You've always had that agency and license. Just
Yeah.
people don't take it,
Yeah.
when they want to. And again, that's the mindset thing. Speak up. If you have to pay for the dues for membership, make it work for you.
Yeah.
And the way you make it work for you is you be in committee, because you're in committee, the doors it opens for you
Yep.
in terms of network, in terms of engagement, in terms of who are you.
Yeah.
But then through these committee work, you become known in the room, and then you become, and that is the accountability for us as business.
Yes.
It's the participation and the advocacy to speak what is important to us.
That's very critical, and I'm glad you brought it up, right? Because it's we are advocating for the business community in the island, for the economy, really advocating at the end of the day for the people of the island to provide jobs and a better way of life for everyone. But we can only do so much. And without your help, without the membership's help to want to jump in there and to say, hey, let's do something, I'll throw in something. We provide what we can try to provide, the great ideas on the networking. I'm going to talk to Catherine about that. I love it. But then also involvement in these subcommittees. There's a lot of stuff that's going on, a lot of things that we're trying to build out over the next, before my term ends, we want to get that blueprint finalized. And then we want to provide that to, incoming politicians. This is the blueprint. This is what we're going to be transparent. This is what we're going to be pushing. And right now we want an economy. We want to build this economy. And behind that economy is tourism. That's just one industry. But more so, jobs, better way of life, more taxes for the government, and how to deploy that government. It's not government against business, against individuals. No, we all live here. We all have a stake. We all have to work together. The senators reviewing the budget need to understand that what they're deciding is going to impact our economy. Is it helping? That's what they always have to ask. If they go through every line, is it helping? How is it going to help us? How is it going to improve public safety? How is it going to help the jobs? Well, public safety, okay, I'm not going to hire people, but increased presence of public safety reduces crime, right? We have an issue with homelessness. How do we get rid of homelessness? Oh, that's a whole different discussion. You know, my brain capacity is cannot
No, but
handle
Ed,
at
it's
this
the
point.
fundamentals, right?
Yes.
In a lot of ways, and we got to wrap because I got to close on this, and I've kept you for a long time.
No,
It's
no
been an
worries.
engaging conversation. But Malcolm
Oh,
Gladwell,
perfect.
right?
Yeah.
He talked about this instance. He studies like tipping points, right?
Uh-huh.
And he just talked about how traffic enforcement, like local police force, stepped up traffic enforcement, and that reduced like accidents by
Yes.
like a certain percentage, and then it reduced crime because just as a function of making sure people are wearing their seatbelts, they're not carrying drugs or
Yeah.
illicit substances, not speeding. So there's downstream effects of just paying attention to the fundamentals, right?
Yeah.
And that's the thing. We're not paying attention to the fundamentals, small stuff. You the most basic thing, keep it clean, make sure people have safe places and spaces to live, and making sure that the population is happy. Those are the building blocks.
Exactly.
So
Coming back to that accountability ladder, you got to acknowledge reality,
yeah,
right? I mean, and we start from there. And from there, it just points, how can we build this economy?
Mhm.
That budget has to build this economy. Is it building the economy? Like Mr. Ho had mentioned, you cannot just leave it to GVB. They can
Yeah.
only do so much,
Agreed.
right? So there, everybody has to play a part. Government, businesses, the entire island is in this thing together.
Ed, you were definitely worth the wait.
Oh, thank you, man. Thank
But
you.
yeah,
I
no, I
appreciate
appreciate
it.
it. Yeah, no, it's
Yeah.
great having you on, a great conversation. And before you go, I was just wondering, do you have any Frank or Phil jokes?
No.
Because that's a regular from the chamber.
Well, no. I'll save it. You know, I just fly on the whim, man. I have to say, if I see anybody I can pick on, I'll pick on somebody out
No,
there.
I'll
But
cut that. I'll cut that.
yeah,
I'll save it for the bonus content, right?
yeah,
But no, I really appreciate you coming on. It's been really great, and the jobs and then the land, like for
yeah,
me, those were real keys, right? And I'll
yeah,
take that away and I'll carry that to other podcasts. So thank you.
yeah. And I still want to kind of work with you. I mean, we were talking about doing things differently, right? We had our own podcast.
Yep.
Okay. We have to analyze at the chamber, is it more effective we do it, or maybe we can combine resources?
Sure.
And that's the thing, you know, we have to start thinking differently, right?
I think so.
What can we do better?
Yeah, and the messaging is important. Is a good way to get the message out, right? To
Yeah.
have like long conversations
Yeah.
that you can push out over and
Yeah.
over again,
I
right?
mean, and going into your data analytics, there's so much. We try to build a scorecard or scoreboard, right? But junk in, junk out,
Yeah,
man.
that's the
And
thing.
we have to start from something. So, you know, coming up with ideas. Okay, well, let's start with this number or this number. At least we know it, right? And see where that takes us,
Agreed.
and then we start building upon it.
It's
But
a foundation. It's a first
yeah,
step.
exactly, it's a start.
We got to start somewhere. So that's
Exactly.
the message. Just first step.
Yep, exactly.
Thanks, Ed. Appreciate
All
you.
right, man. Thank you very much.
It took us a while to warm up, but once we got there, we were really cooking to the point where I had to cut it off because I gotta go. This one's a long one; it's over an hour. We have to cut some of the early parts or feature it in bonus content. But when Ed got warmed up, he really was cooking, and he really opened my eyes. And it's jobs, in a lot of ways, and yes, it's jobs for me, but it's also creating those systems and structures that create a place where you can raise a family here and be invested here for the long term and feel that you have a voice to participate. And you do, but I think, we don't feel that we've earned that right, or maybe we're afraid to speak up because of reprisal or it's going to mess up. And, just from being in a place in my life where I can say it's not that big a deal. You might ruffle some feathers here and there, but, just speak up. And you can always walk it back, maybe, right? But just be a good person generally and just try and stick up for yourself and stick up for what you believe in. I think positive things will come from that because that's being authentic and honest. And I think that's what has to happen. We have to be authentic and honest about what's going on here. And we have to be transparent about our role in it and the role that others have played. And people have to be accountable and we have to hold them accountable. And if we don't understand it, we have to keep asking why. And I hope that you keep asking why with us and keep learning why. And join us on all our platforms: Apple Podcasts, Spotify, YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, and wherever else you can find us. We'll be out there asking the questions that you want answers to, and we do too, quite frankly, because there's change coming, and we want it to be good change. And so, thanks for joining us on Data Points.